Okay, I don't know if people know this or not, but breast cancer is the most commonly diagnosed cancer in women. It's the second leading cause of death among women. Each year, it's estimated that over 220,000 women in the U.S. will be diagnosed with breast cancer. More than 40,000 will die. Obviously, breast cancer over the years has changed a lot, and a lot more people, a lot more women have been saved because of early detection. So, setting up for today, here's what I want you to do. I don't care if you're a man or a woman, anybody listening today, here's what I want you to do. I want you to line up in your mind the 8 most important women in your life. Picture them in your mind right now. Maybe it's your mother, your wife, your child, a special coworker, a friend you've had for 20 years, whatever. 8 most important women in your life. And then think about the fact that at least one of those women will be diagnosed with breast cancer in their lifetime. That certainly happened to our guest today, Megan Sizemore. Megan is only 31 years old, which is highly unusual. Megan, thanks for joining us today, and I'm so glad you're here to talk about your story.
Thanks for having me.
It's important that people hear it. So you're 31. I'm sure you did not have a mammogram, because that doesn't even start till you're 40. How did you know something wasn't right?
I just kind of sum it up to a gut feeling. I have a strong family history on both sides of my family. My dad's side and my mom's side both had breast and ovarian cancer. So I was actually in for a routine pap smear and said, hey, you know, I would love to get the genetic testing. And they actually have a little algorithm that you can follow on whether or not you qualify through these genetic labs they have at the University of Washington. And you don't even have to go through insurance. They actually pay the insurance. And I fell right in the algorithm and said, yep, you can get the genetic testing. And I thought, you know, I have 2 little girls. I want to know for them in the future. So he set me up with a genetic counselor, got those results back, and I was positive for 2 breast cancer and ovarian cancer genes. And because of that, they said, okay, you need a baseline MRI to just see where we are now. And in the MRI is when they found 4 spots that were all cancer, which led to biopsies and mammograms and ultrasounds, and it just...
It started there.
Yes.
It started there. A gut feeling.
Yep. I just
Wow.
always wanted to know. I was always kind of in the mindset of, wow, I've had so much breast cancer coming at me from both sides. I need to really be on top of this. And you just really have to, early detection is the best, and you really have to listen to your body. And if you feel that strongly about something, you got to take it into your own hands, not wait for a doctor to tell you it's time.
Mm-hmm. When was that? When did you start even to think about this?
It was actually a couple years ago. I first thought about it, and then I ended up getting pregnant, so kind of put it on the back burner. And then after baby, you know, getting back on my routine stuff, I thought, well, I'm just going to see if I can add this to my routine kind of physical time and get it all done. And this was just the beginning of this year when I got all that testing done.
Mm-hmm. All right, so you already knew that you basically had a predisposition because of your genetics.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, for a lot of people involved in any kind of medical stuff, there's that torturous period of time between when you go in for some tests and when you get the results of those tests. I mean, your brain goes everywhere that it shouldn't go.
It definitely does, yes. You think about all the worst case scenarios, and it's really hard to wait for those results. And then even after you get the diagnosis, it hits you hard. And
Yeah, it does.
Sheer shock and sheer anxiety, and even more of the worst case scenarios play out in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very, very lucky that I found it this early, and I've met so many wonderful people through it all that have it, you know, mine was caught at stage 1 and not in my lymph nodes, and there are so many other young women I have met and have helped me through it a lot that are way worse off, and they're even getting, you know, cancer has come a long way. They're getting it in remission and cured of it, and it's just amazing what they can do now.
It is amazing. So what exactly was your diagnosis? Is there a particular name on the type of
Yes.
breast cancer?
Mine was a multifocal, which just means that it wasn't one tumor. It was the same type of cancer in multiple places. It was multifocal aggressive invasive ductal adenocarcinoma. Long, long name. It basically means it was cancer of the milk ducts that had invaded out into the duct and into the breast tissue, and actually one of them was invading into my muscle, right into the fascia of my muscle. But with the early detection, it had not gotten to my lymph nodes, which was amazing.
So what was the treatment plan that was suggested by the doctors?
So at the beginning they said, most likely we'll do the mastectomy. If it's not in the lymph nodes, I won't have to do any radiation. But they did recommend, because it was in multiple places, it only takes one cell left behind to make the cancer grow and come back. And because it was aggressive form, I knew chemo from the beginning. They told me I'd have to do chemo. But then when they actually went in there and did the biopsies and found that it was on my muscle, they did say I have to do the radiation because it is in my muscle, even though it's not in my lymph nodes. So I'm doing chemo, which I just had my 3rd round yesterday, and then I do 4 total. And then after chemo, I will do 33 rounds of radiation. And then I have to also get a hysterectomy with my ovaries out. And then 6 months after radiation is over, I can start reconstructive surgery from my double mastectomy that I had at the very beginning. It's a long course. You just have to do one day at a time.
Wow,
Yes.
you have an incredible spirit to be able to just talk about this so almost matter-of-factly. You probably repeated this story a number of times,
Yes,
haven't you?
yes, I have.
Yeah. Double mastectomy, and you're 31 years old, and then you're going to have a hysterectomy. Wow. It's pretty lucky you already have 2 children.
Yes,
isn't it?
very lucky. That was the one very good thing. We had already decided we were done having babies, and so I didn't have to have that initial shock on top of everything else. So we got very lucky there.
Well, was a double mastectomy an option, a choice, or was it a major recommendation, like you really need to do this?
All of this has been major recommendation, especially the genes that I have. The 2 genes together gave me an 85% chance of breast and ovarian cancer by the age of 50. So they put you kind of in an algorithm through this American Cancer Center Network thing. It's the ACCN guidelines. And basically, if you have this type of cancer and you get mastectomy, chemo, radiation, hysterectomy, gets you in like the 97% that it will never come back. And you know, if you just do this, if I just did mastectomy, it was still very highly likely to come back. And if I didn't do a mastectomy, it was even higher likely to come back. So I just never want to have to go through it again. And all the doctors, they have me in this interdisciplinary team with my doctors, and there's like 8 or 10 doctors that all get together and talk about my case. I think it's once a month or once a month. And there's some from out of town and some from here, and they all decide what they think would be the best course for me. And they all have to agree, and then that's the decisions they've come back and told me for. So that's what we've done, whatever they all recommend. We just don't want to have to do it again, and I'm ready to be here for a long time and not have cancer anymore.
Absolutely. All right, Megan, we have a lot more questions I want to ask you. I'm going to take a break here, but I want to know about chemotherapy. And I think that there are a lot of other people, if you've never experienced it yourself or you don't have anyone close to you that has, what is that like? We're going to find out in just a moment. Stay with us. My guest today is Megan Sizemore. She's 31 years old. She has gone through a lot of testing and it's been determined basically that she has high probability for breast cancer and ovarian cancer. She actually had 4 lumps that were removed. She's had a double mastectomy. She's in the middle of chemotherapy now. Tell us what that is like. I mean, you had described to me about when to be on the show was like a window of when you feel good and when you don't. So
Yes.
How does that work?
Well, the most important thing to know about chemo is that every single person going through it has different feelings and different days that are good and different days that are bad, and there's a ton of different types of chemo. But for me, I have to take steroids, whopping doses of steroids the day before, the day of, and the day after chemo. And those days I feel great, like I could push some cars and mow the lawn and clean the house, and the steroids just make you feel like you're super hyper. And then you don't take steroids anymore, and I crash really hard from about day 4 for about 5 days, where I'm so weak that I can't even trust myself to go to the bathroom and back to my chair. My knees give out. I have to get a Neupogen shot 24 hours after my chemo, which is to help boost my white blood cells. And that gives you a ton of bone pain, well, me, a ton of bone pain. So sternum bone, and it just aches, and my knees give out, and it's just crazy when you're used to being so active and healthy and able to do everything, and then all of a sudden these 4 or 5 days you're just down and out. It really puts a damper in your mood and attitude, but I have huge support that helps me through all of those days. And then the one thing that I think is pretty common through most chemos is the mouth. The mouth is awful. It burns, and things don't feel right, nothing tastes right, everything smells like onions and body odor to me, and everything tastes like that. The only thing I have found that tastes normal, oddly enough, is vegetables and peanut butter, so I eat a lot of that, but I just mostly, not even fruit tastes awful, the worst ever, and I usually love fruit. It's just very strange. The whole mouth experience, the roof of my mouth sloughs off, my taste buds slough off, my gums peel, my mouth is just horrible for about 2 weeks, and I can finally start tasting stuff that 3rd week, and then I get another round. So I get a little reprieve when food tastes good again. But they have really done a good job with chemo now than back when my grandma took it. She was always so sick and so nauseated all the time. They have really come a long way with the nausea. They give you lots of medicine, tell you to how to stay on the regimen for that. So my appetite has been great. It's just trying to find things that don't hurt your mouth and that taste good. That's the hard part.
So it sounds like a really, really horrible experience. How do you get through it? What are you thinking about when you're feeling this awful?
When I feel that awful, I just have to remember that it is killing the cancer and not me. I'm feeling awful, but I'm living through it, and it's killing the cancer. So I just try to think of that and help me through. And then I have an amazing friend who, don't make me cry. She is a year older than me, and she went through this with an actual worse type of cancer. And she has 2 little kids, and she had to do a lot more rounds of chemo, and she has been amazing for me to talk to, and someone who can relate on a very personal level. And she has helped me so much to get through the bad days. I can see her and think, wow, there is an end to this, and she's smiling and doing cartwheels and loving her kids and totally normal life again. And so it's really awesome when she comes to visit and we just talk, and I see her smiling and laughing and think, okay, I can do this one day at a time, and we'll get through it. This is what we have to do. So
this is someone that you knew already?
Yes,
or that you met?
Okay.
Oh, okay. So for those people out there that have someone that is going through this, and it could be any kind of cancer or any kind of illness for that matter, what are some of the good things that people can do to help you?
Just being there and keeping you company and being supportive. Cooking meals has been huge because I still have to feed my family, and I have no energy to do that. Everyone has kept my freezers stocked full. That has been awesome. And then I also have a little secret angel basket on my porch that people come and give me little pick-me-ups and surprises in. And I have no idea who any of the people are. I'm supposed to meet them all at the end of my whole journey here. And just making me laugh and doing things that are normal, so you don't feel like this cancer has just become your new world. Just being there and laughing and making sure my sister-in-laws and the grandmas and the grandpas and the nieces and the brothers, and everybody has been so wonderful in making sure my kids still have fun through all of this, which has been a humongous help for me, because I don't want them to see me on my yucky days and think, oh, what's wrong with mommy? So they've been keeping them full of fun and excitement and adventures, and that's been my biggest blessing.
Mm-hmm. So what's really kind of interesting in your situation, Megan, is that you're a nurse, and I'm going to think that, have you seen some of this before in other patients? So is that an advantage or a disadvantage to have all this information in your brain?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's good because it's kind of helped me prepare for what to expect and kind of what's normal, but it's also bad because I nitpick every little detail and side effect and what could be, and sometimes ignorance is bliss, and in this case a lot of, and of course cancer, there has been so many new terms and things I've learned about cancer just from getting it that I never knew before. So a lot of it is still unknown, even though I am a nurse, but it's definitely, I have the nurse aspect of wondering and questioning and thinking about way too much sometimes.
Yes. What do you think you'll be like when you go back to work? And so you're not working right now, I guess. I wanted to ask about that.
I do work a little bit. Definitely not for the 2 weeks I get the chemo, and then I try to work that third week when I'm feeling good right before, just to try to, because I have a lot of surgeries coming up, so I'm trying to have a little income while I can and while I feel good. So I work a tiny bit, but definitely not my normal. And my work has been amazing. They're also supportive too, so they kind of say, you know, you listen to your body, you're the most important in all of this. If you feel like you need to go, you go. If you feel like you can work, let us know. So it's kind of just hit or miss and play it by ear of how I feel.
Mm-hmm. Well, a lot of people in this situation, yes, their life changes because they don't have the income that they did. They have insurance to help cover a lot of the medical, but before, I mean, you had a two-person income. Do you have any kind of a fund?
I have had, because yes, finances was a huge stress in the beginning of this, and the last thing you need is financial stress on top of it all. And I have had amazing support with that. They had a huge yard sale for me, and one day raised $4,500, and they had a huge auction online. My mom and my cousin and my brother set it all up, and the community just donated so many amazing things. It raised me $10,000. Mm-hmm. And then another friend of mine started a GoFundMe account, and that has raised about $8,000. So we have put it all into an account that accrues a little interest, but we can still take it out when we need to use it, and it's sitting there for mostly next year when I'm not going to be able to work for weeks and weeks at a time with all of my surgeries that I have to get. So yes, that has been a huge burden off my shoulders, just having a little stockpile, knowing there's a little cushion. It's not a huge cushion, but it's something. It's something.
And it also means that a lot of people care.
Oh my gosh, I have had, so that's been one of my biggest struggles. I'm such a giver. I like to give, and I mean, I'm a nurse, so I give at work, and I feel so much better when I'm giving. And now receiving all of this has been, I just feel like I cannot say thank you enough. And so I struggled with that a lot, thinking, how am I ever going to pay these people back for all of this amazing stuff? And one of my mom's best friends told me, she said, you know what, think about when you give, how good it makes you feel. It's therapeutic for you to give to these people, and that's why they're doing it. They don't expect anything. It's making them feel better. And so that's kind of the road I've decided to choose now, thinking they're doing this because they want to, and I shouldn't stress so much about how I'm going to repay them, because I probably never will be able to repay them the way my heart feels like I want to. So I just think they want to do this because they want to. And
yes, yes. Giving makes people feel good.
Yes.
So let them feel good. Let
yes.
them. So I am going to anticipate that you will become a significant bearer of the news about early detection and how important that is, even for people who are in their late 20s and early 30s. So I want to go back to and be able to share with people the information that you had in terms of a gut feeling about relatives who've also had cancer in your immediate family. So help us understand that again, because that's a big message for today.
Yes. So what they told me, and at my primary care doctor and my OBGYN, they actually have a little paper that shows you if you qualify. But if you have anybody in your family, a first or second degree relative, which is like aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents, that have ovarian alone, you should automatically qualify. But if you have 2 or more with breast cancer, that should qualify you also. You have to check for sure on those with your doctor. But they will let you know if you qualify. So it's very important. If you're a young woman and you have a family history, get it checked out early, because the earlier the better, no matter what anyone has to say. The earlier the better with any types of cancer. So very important, and it's the genetic labs are really pushing insurances to see that this is very, very helpful to find early detection this way through the genetics of things. So yeah, take a look at the family tree, and if it's there, I would recommend you get checked out with a genetic counselor. All it is a simple blood draw, and they send your blood to the genetic lab, and you get the results about 4 weeks later.
And then you get to decide what you're going to do with that
Yes.
information. All right. Wow. Good advice, lady. We really appreciate that.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
Thanks for coming today. Megan Sizemore, we wish you the best, and I want to hear
Thank
all
you.
about you.
Okay. Oh, I had one very good tidbit of information
Oh, okay.
for mastectomy. You come out of the mastectomy with drains, and I found that the most helpful, wonderful thing was a simple lanyard around your neck for showers you could hook your drains to and shower so freely. So that is my words of wisdom if you are going through a mastectomy.
They better have those lanyards there at the Tri-Cities Cancer Center for people.
Yeah, they should.
Yeah, they should. All right. Sounds really good. Megan, thank you so much for joining us today. We wish you the best.
Thank you very much.
We'll be back in a moment.